Tuko Hadzabe Bush Tribe, the boy who spoke to nature, a journey of survival and wisdom. In the remote, sun-drenched savannas of northern Tanzania, where the wild heart of Africa beats relentlessly, the Hadzabe people survive as one of the last true tribes living in harmony with nature. They have inhabited these lands for thousands of years, their culture and way of life deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the earth. Among them was a boy named Toco, whose life would become a living testament to the enduring connection between humans and the wilderness. The birth of a survivor. Tuko was born in a small, humble camp deep in the bush, nestled beneath the shade of ancient baobab trees. His parents were proud members of the Hadzabe, a tribe that had forsaken the modern world for the simplicity and purity of their ancient traditions. From an early age, Tuko was raised to be one with the land. The Hadzabe do not teach their children with books or classrooms. Instead, they rely on the wisdom passed down through stories, rituals, and direct engagement with the land. To be Hadzabe is to understand the subtle language of nature, to know the call of birds that signals rain, the rustling of leaves that marks the movement of prey, and the footprints of animals that reveal their presence. Tuko's earliest memories were of his father, a skilled hunter and storyteller, taking him on his first hunt. He was no older than 6, yet his heart raced with excitement as they stalked the wilderness in search of game. His father taught him to listen to the whispers of the wind, to study the signs left by animals, and to recognize the sounds that filled the air. These early lessons were not simply survival skills, they were the foundation of Tuko's spiritual and emotional connection to the environment. A spiritual connection with nature. The Hadzabe people are unique in their deep respect for the land, considering themselves not above nature but a part of it. Their lives are guided by the belief that the earth, animals, plants, and even the stars have spirits that must be revered. Tuko, even as a child, sensed these spirits all around him. The elders would often speak of the great spirit of the land who could communicate with those pure of heart. Tuko, with his keen intuition, would sometimes hear whispers in the wind or feel the presence of unseen forces, signs that he was destined for something greater than mere survival. One evening, as Tuko sat near the campfire, his grandmother shared with him the ancient tale of the boy who spoke to the earth. It was said that long ago, a young child from their tribe had been granted the ability to understand the language of the animals and plants. This boy was said to be blessed by the Great Spirit, chosen to guide his people and protect the balance of nature. Tuko listened intently, his heart swelling with a sense of destiny. As he grew older, Tuko's ability to commune with the natural world began to manifest. He could hear the calls of distant birds and understand the language of the forest. He could identify the subtle shifts in the atmosphere that heralded the coming of a storm or the migration of game. His connection to nature deepened with each passing year, and the elders began to call him the boy who spoke to nature. A test of survival. At the age of 12, Tuko was thrust into a trial that would test both his physical and spiritual fortitude. A severe drought had gripped the land, and the food supply dwindled. The Hadzabe were struggling to find enough game, and the rivers that once provided water were now reduced to mere trickles. The tribe's survival depended on the wisdom of their elders and the strength of their hunters. Tuko was ready to prove himself. One morning, as the sun began to rise over the horizon, Tuko set out on a hunt with his father and the other hunters. They followed the dry riverbeds, where the scent of water was faint but discernible. They knew the animals would gather around any remaining sources of water, so they were determined to track them down. For days, they moved silently through the wilderness, following the subtle signs left behind by their prey. On the 4th day of their journey, Tuko began to feel something unusual. He could hear the faintest rustling of leaves in the distance, a sound that did not belong to any animal he knew. His instincts told him to investigate. He motioned to his father, who followed him silently. As they approached the sound, they discovered something extraordinary, a hidden spring, untouched by the drought. The water was crystal clear and fresh, a lifeline for their people. Tuko's discovery saved the tribe. Thanks to his deep connection with the land, they were able to survive the harsh conditions and emerge stronger than before. The elders, impressed by his wisdom and intuition, declared Tuko a true guide of the tribe, a spiritual leader who could speak with the spirits of the land. The boy who became a leader. As Tuko matured, he continued to grow in both his knowledge of survival and his spiritual understanding of the world around him. He was no longer just a boy who spoke to nature, he was a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. The Hadzabe, who had always valued strength and wisdom in their leaders, now looked to Tuko for guidance in matters of both the body and the spirit. His reputation spread far beyond his tribe, and neighboring communities began to seek his counsel. Tuko would often lead expeditions to teach others how to live in harmony with nature, emphasizing the importance of balance and respect for the environment. His teachings were simple but profound. Nature provides everything we need, but only if we listen to it and honor its gifts. In one of his most significant journeys, Tuko ventured deep into the wilderness, seeking knowledge from the ancient trees of the forest. He spent days in solitude, meditating and fasting, waiting for a vision. One night, under the light of a full moon, Tuko experienced a powerful revelation. He saw the interconnectedness of all life, how each animal, plant, and person was part of a delicate web that required mutual respect to survive. When Tuko returned to his people, he shared his vision. The tribe embraced it wholeheartedly, strengthening their commitment to living sustainably and protecting the environment for future generations. A legacy of wisdom. As Tuko grew older, his legacy as the boy who spoke to nature only grew more powerful. He became a symbol of wisdom, strength, and the deep connection between humanity and the earth. His teachings were passed down through the generations, and even as the modern world encroached upon the Hadzabe's traditional way of life, Tuko's message remained timeless. In a world increasingly disconnected from nature, Tuko's story serves as a reminder of the power and wisdom that can be found in the natural world. His journey is not just a tale of survival, but of deep spiritual growth, of understanding our place in the world and the importance of preserving the delicate balance that sustains all life. Tuko's legacy lives on in the hearts of those who continue to walk the path of the Hadzabe. His life was a journey of survival, but more than that, it was a journey of wisdom, a journey that speaks to us all, urging us to listen to the whispers of the earth and to honor the sacred bond we share with nature. Tuko's story, like the stories of so many indigenous peoples, is a powerful reminder of the ancient wisdom embedded in our connection to the natural world. In a time when the environment faces unprecedented challenges, we can learn much from Tuko and the Hadzabe. They show us that true strength lies not in conquering nature, but in living in harmony with it. The trials of leadership, Tuko's role as the guardian of the land. As the years passed, Tuko's wisdom grew deeper, and his connection to the land became more pronounced. However, with the mantle of leadership came the responsibility to protect the balance of nature not just for his people, but for the future generations who would walk the same earth. The Hadzabe, though fiercely independent, were not isolated from the pressures of the outside world. More and more outsiders, drawn by the land's resources and the allure of untouched beauty, began to encroach on the Hadzabe's homeland. Poachers, land developers, and even tourists seeking to experience the unspoiled wildlands of the Hadzabe territory all began to invade the sacred grounds where Tuko's people had lived for millennia. Tuko knew that the survival of his tribe and the preservation of the land's sacred balance depended on more than just survival skills. It would require a fight for the land itself. The coming of the strangers. One fateful day, while Tuko was out hunting with his younger brother, they came across a group of strangers, their clothes unfamiliar, their faces unfamiliar. They were poachers, armed with rifles, and they were slaughtering game without regard for the natural balance. The poachers had been stripping the land of its resources, taking the animals the Hadzabe depended on for food, and leaving nothing in return. Tuko's heart burned with anger. For a brief moment, he considered confronting them directly. But his father had always taught him that the true strength of a leader lay not in impulsive action, but in wise decision-making. Instead, Tuko took a different path. He observed the poachers from a distance, memorizing their movements and behavior. Later that night, he returned to his tribe and explained the threat. His wisdom, gained through years of understanding the land, proved vital. Tuko knew that to protect his people and the animals, he would need to outwit these strangers. He began organizing the tribe to take action, using his deep knowledge of the land to track the poachers without being seen. As he had done with his first hunt as a boy, Tuko now relied on the land's secrets to guide his every move. With the help of the elders and the other hunters, Tuko devised a plan that would drive the poachers away without resorting to violence. They worked in the shadows, marking the poachers' paths with subtle signs, setting up decoys, and luring them into areas where they could be trapped or forced to retreat. But it wasn't just strategy that led to their success, it was the spirit of the land itself. The animals seemed to sense the tribe's efforts and aided them, moving silently to places where the poachers were less likely to strike. Birds would fly overhead to warn them, and the wind seemed to carry their movements, masking them from sight. In the end, the poachers were forced to leave, not through force of arms, but through the quiet strength of the land's protection. They left without even realizing the wisdom they had been up against, thinking it had been mere luck or chance. Tuko's vision, a future where people and land coexist. After this victory, Tuko's role as a protector deepened. He no longer simply served as the boy who spoke to nature, but as the true guardian of his people's way of life. He became more determined to ensure that the Hadzabe would not only survive in the modern world but thrive, preserving their ancient traditions while adapting to the changing times. His leadership was not about holding on to the past, but about finding a way to harmonize with the future without losing their soul. Tuko's vision began to take shape. He saw a future where the Hadzabe could engage with the outside world, but on their own terms. They would not have to abandon their ways in exchange for the trappings of modern life. Instead, they would teach the world to understand and respect the wisdom of living in balance with nature. To Tuko, the modern world was not something to be feared, it was an opportunity to spread the message of his people. He initiated programs to protect the lands from illegal poaching and deforestation. While the Hadzabe were not a people who believed in grand structures, Tuko's leadership showed that even small, isolated communities could have a far-reaching impact if they carried the wisdom of the land in their hearts. He worked with conservationists and environmental groups, sharing the Hadzabe's knowledge of sustainable living. Slowly, Tuko's tribe became a beacon of hope for those who wished to learn how to protect the earth. The path of the sage. Tuko's life became a journey not just of survival but of sharing wisdom. He became a teacher, passing down his knowledge to younger generations. The Hadzabe now had a new challenge: how to balance their ancient ways with the needs of an increasingly interconnected world. While they had always respected nature's wisdom, they now had to understand how to integrate that respect into the global conversation on environmental sustainability. Over time, Tuko became a legend beyond his tribe. Visitors from all over the world came to seek his guidance. Scholars, scientists, and environmentalists came to learn from the boy who had spoken to nature. Some came to study his people's traditional hunting techniques, while others sought to understand how the Hadzabe had maintained such a deep connection to the earth. But Tuko never saw himself as a teacher of technique alone. He believed that the true lesson lay in the spirit of his people, the understanding that we are all interconnected with the earth and that everything we take from nature must be given back in some way. In one of his final teachings, Tuko stood beneath the ancient baobab tree, surrounded by his people, and spoke of a vision he had seen. He spoke of a future where all people, not just his tribe, would learn to walk lightly upon the earth, honoring the land as they had always done. He spoke of a time when the wisdom of the ancients would be respected, when the earth's creatures would no longer be seen as commodities, and when all people would recognize that they were merely stewards of the land, not its masters. The last journey. As the years went by, Tuko aged gracefully. His once youthful face became lined with wisdom, but his spirit remained as strong as ever. He took long walks in the wilderness, speaking to the animals, communing with the trees, and feeling the pulse of the earth beneath his feet. He had lived a full life, one marked by survival, wisdom, and peace. One day, Tuko ventured alone into the deep forest, as he often did in his later years. He had felt the call of the land, and he knew his time was near. Under the boughs of the sacred trees, where the land had once spoken to him as a boy, Tuko took his final rest. His people, upon hearing of his passing, held a great ceremony in his honor. The elders spoke of the boy who had spoken to nature, the leader who had guided them through trials, and the sage whose wisdom had illuminated the path for all to follow. Tuko's legacy lived on through his people, who carried forward his teachings with love and reverence. The Hadzabe continued to live in harmony with nature, ensuring that the land would thrive for generations to come. And the world, too, was reminded of the simple yet profound truth that Toco had shared with all who had the wisdom to listen. The earth is not something we own, but something we must protect, honor, and care for, always. Tuko's life is a timeless reminder that wisdom often comes not from modern technology, but from the ancient, enduring connection between humans and the land. His journey, marked by trials, wisdom, and a deep reverence for nature, teaches us that survival is not just about enduring, but about understanding the intricate relationships that sustain all life on Earth.